tax resolution specialist, Taxpro of Tampa, that is. And Michelle, yeah, lots of things happening. Wow. Where do we begin?
Where do we begin?
And you were telling a really cool story, and kind of before the show in the green room, you want to share a little bit of that? Because it kind of leads
absolutely. So I was mentioning, of course, the Gamestop stock. And my son, who is 25 years old, called me a few months ago, and he's like, Mom, can I get some extra money? I think I want to invest. And I said, absolutely, son. Sent him a couple of $1,000s. He said he matched it and kind of put it in. I didn't really check on him since then. He's that child you don't really have to check on. You know he's
always been kind of precocious.
He's responsible.
Yep.
So I never really went back and asked what he did and with who. But as soon as the GameStop stock started, he sent me a screenshot of his account. And of course, it was with Robinhood, which everyone has all seen in the news that they've kind of stopped all the trading and did all this other stuff. But it had went up significantly. So the investment was somewhere around $4,000, and he ended up with about $50,000.
Wow, in a short period of time. I mean, 3 or 4 months, right?
In a very short period of time.
That's pretty cool.
He was really, really excited. We couldn't buy or sell anymore, because of the whole thing that came up. But that
they put a pause on it.
Yeah, they did. They put a pause on it. I haven't seen where they have a lawsuit, class action filed, I guess.
Interesting.
So I'm supposing it's probably going to, turn out to be a mess because, of course, soon as the little ones start making some money.
Yes.
Right.
The average everyday investor that has small amount. But it's okay. Here's the flip side of it, right? And if you listen to Phil's gang before us at 3 o'clock, he calls it the Wall Street gangsters. It's okay for the Wall Street gangsters to go on CNBC or whatever news program they go on, and they start touting these stocks that they know they bought last week.
Right.
Oh, buy this. This is hot. This is hot. This one's not. These financial entertainers, so to speak. And when that happens, of course, people are watching TV. They're seeing it on social media. Of course, everybody's repurposing. So it's very similar to what happened with Reddit, is what I understand.
Absolutely. Apparently, it was an article that was written. Some guy came on, did this whole thing. My son said he went in, he saw it, then he verified what the guy said, and he thought it was going to be a good bet. And went ahead and did it. So, there was a lot of excitement last week over it, of course.
Yeah.
But, it was just really cool. And, of course, some of the other stocks, your AMCs and other things like that. But really some nice growth on the GameStop.
Yeah, it's interesting when you look at, what the effect of COVID was. Of course, if you bought Zoom a year ago, the online meeting portal, if you don't know what Zoom is, it's kind of like Skype or even FaceTime on your iPhone. You can Zoom and have a meeting from Seattle to Tampa, Florida, and, kind of feel like you're in the room, you're looking face to face. Sometimes we're using it in real estate. But, if you were able to buy that type of a stock, you're going to see exponential returns on that investment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If you're able to get in early enough.
Right.
But, the thing is, we wait until the last minute.
Yep. Human nature.
Right. We want to see how it's going to go.
Right. And then let's talk on the tax side of that. On the flip side, when you are making those gains, are you paying taxes once it's realized on paper, or how can you
once
walk us
it
through?
is withdrawn?
Once
So
it's withdrawn,
if
okay.
if it stays in the account and it's reinvested, then
Okay.
no gains are recognized on that. But
Okay.
once it is withdrawn and taken out the account, then yes, you would have some capital gains on that. Absolutely. Right. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and as you know, we do have a large real estate following. Of course, the show originated about 8 years ago as the Real Estate Quarterback. Now we're changed the name to the Consumer Quarterback Show somewhere around 5 years ago. When you look at the real estate side of investing, and of course we had a change in guard, so to speak, from Trump to Biden now. What do you see happening? Because I've heard rumors that 1031s might be going away. What do you see happening on the tax ramifications, and how does that break down for our listeners?
So many changes.
Yeah.
It take me hours to go through a lot of them, but yes, there might be some changes coming to the 1031 exchange.
Yep.
Of course, that is, for those who don't know what that 1031 exchange is, it's what they call a like-kind property. And so you exchange one for the other within a limited period of time that the IRS assigns, and that the title company, once you have made that down payment, decides that it needs to get done.
Yep.
Once you follow that time frame and you buy within that time frame again, then you don't recognize the capital gains from the first property that was purchased.
Yeah.
So it's a great way to, again, do an exchange in property.
Yeah, especially if you're moving from up north to south.
Absolutely. I don't want this one anymore, but I want this one, but they're both commercial properties, then absolutely you are able to take advantage of the tax advantages of that. Of course, there are areas in which there are also big incentives for you to buy in our lower income areas, the re-gentrification process.
Right.
There are big tax credits if that's what you're looking to do. So again, you sold your property, you didn't know about the 1031 exchange, and now you take those gains and you go into these areas where they are doing some re-gentrification.
Yes.
There are also tax programs that allow you to now not recognize that gain, because now we have reinvested it into an area that is now starting to see some growth. And so depending on how long they keep them invested into these properties, the entire 100% cannot be recognized as far as the gains. So again, just really great programs out there.
Yeah.
As if and here it is. It's a great time to start buying.
Yeah.
But make sure you understand, and make sure that when you're buying, it actually benefits you, because it's not just about owning the property.
Right.
I think the last time on the show, I spoke a little bit about that income cap. When we go in and we buy these properties, if we're at an income cap, we can't take the deductions allowed by the IRS. We can't take those depreciation and those other things, because we've capped that income for those deductions. So we also have to buy smart as well. So it's not just jumping out and getting a property, is really how do you structure the actual deal to make sure that it actually benefits you if that's what you're looking to do.
Yeah, those are some great tips here from Michelle James, tax resolution specialist, taxproofttampa.com. Website is taxproofttampa.com. Michelle James here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. I'm your host, Brandon Rhymes. And that's some radio gold right there that we're talking. I mean, because people are looking for opportunity now, and they're not sure, okay, what I've heard of re-gentrification zones, I've heard of opportunity zones. What exactly does it mean? How can I find that? How can I position myself to buy right and then realize those gains and then be sitting in a good position tax-wise as well, Michelle?
Absolutely. And of course, we turn to our professional real estate.
That's right. You look at that and you look at, exactly, you look, hey, where are we going to buy? What's the hot areas?
Where are we going to buy?
We saw, did you ever hear the guy, Matthew Cox? He was on American Greed. He single-handedly raised values of single-family homes in Ybor City with the fraud that he perpetrated. So I don't know if you ever heard of that. We had him on the show. We had him on the show not from a, hey, look at me, I'm boasting type thing, but as a, here's what you look for. Here's because title fraud is big. There's rampant. You can steal people's title. But yeah, so you look, okay, Ybor City, that was a big area. Maybe still is in certain pockets. Seminole Heights, great area. You can get that. So you look for where the opportunity zones are, and if you're maybe not an investor, but you're a single family buyer, and you're looking to, maybe I'm renting, but you're looking to get into home ownership, hey, let's look at where the municipalities are giving out free down payment assistance. So down payment assistance, SHIP programs, lots of different ways. And it all starts with working with the right professionals. Of course, the Consumer Quarterback Show, we can help you do that.
Absolutely.
Let's take a break here. Michelle James in studio, more tax tips and strategy when it comes to purchasing real estate, even just structuring your business. A lot of times we might want to get a review. When we come back, I want to ask Michelle how she can do reviews for our listeners, and we may offer a free review to the first 2 or 3 people that maybe call in. We can get a review done for you potentially here. And we're talking with Michelle James here, taxproofttampa.com. Plus, our feel-good story of the day is a good one. Really cool story. Billionaire launches drug company to offer low-cost versions of high-cost drugs. Stay with us. Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
Hey, I'm Ken Shamrock, and you're here with Consumer Quarterback Show.
We're talking with Michelle James here. She's a tax resolution specialist, Taxpro of Tampa.com. And again, we were talking between the break. Let's kind of gear this segment towards our small business owners, and then we'll offer that tax review coming up for the first 3 listeners that text in. We'll do a review for them.
Sure.
But PPP, you've seen some interesting things happen with that over the rollout from, what was it, March or April, the original rollout, and the till now.
Absolutely. So the rules that have changed on the PPP, well, a couple of things changed. Initially, when we were given those, those loans, as they call them,
Yep.
we were to recognize it as, even though it came in as a liability, we still had to recognize that, even though it was a loan. But
Right.
we weren't able to take those expenses, right?
Okay.
So that payroll that we were processing and rents and things like that we used, we weren't able to take those deductions. Well, the IRS and the SBA came back and said, well, no longer, we're not going to not allow you to take those deductions. So this year, you're going to see people, and we don't have to pick it up as income. So we're going to see, it's like a double gift.
Double gift. I love it. Hey, we finally got a gift.
It's a gift for us small businesses. And so what happens is we now don't have to recognize the loan as any kind of income, and we also get to take those deductions.
Nice.
But the other sweet spot is if you have not yet asked for forgiveness under the PPP, which I've encouraged all my clients to keep waiting. And we kept waiting because we kept hearing there were some new things coming down the pike. And we did not know if they were going to make them retroactive. So the idea was to, we have 10 months to clean up that PPP and reconcile it and get our forgiveness before it goes into any type of, loans at 1%.
Okay.
So during this time, the IRS then came out with the employee retention tax credits. So now if you did not go back and if you did not ask for that PPP forgiveness, now we can go in and look at those quarters. We can review those quarterly 941s.
Wow.
And each employee, as the employers, we can get up to $5,000 in tax credits.
Wow.
For 2020 and up to $7,500 in 2021.
Wow.
So in 2020, of course, it's going to just be a dollar for dollar credit, right? Kind of carried forward. In 2021, they're allowing us to actually reduce that payment that we'd make to them with the payroll taxes and just submit the difference. So there are some awesome things coming out as far as tax credits with the IRS. Along with the PPP, we know we're at second funding. We're at the point where we're doing our second funding. But for those who did already kind of reconcile and closed out that PPP, there are some little nuances which we're still kind of waiting on direction from the IRS, just exactly how. But what we also know is once they have dedicated, if they went in and they go, third quarter was where I used my PPP.
Right.
We know now that we cannot go back and review that for the employee retention credit.
Okay.
Right. So you only got 2.5 months, right, of it. But if for whatever reason payroll was lower and you filled in that whole 3 months or even 6 months,
right,
we can't put that on the review if you've already done.
Okay.
The reconciliation.
Interesting. Yeah, it's a lot of rules and a lot of reading, I'm sure, a lot of research on your part to go back and find out and, stay up to date with what's happening. It's a fluid business environment, and you've got to be on top of it. And Michelle James right here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, tax resolution specialist right here in Tampa Bay. She's an attorney and a CPA, so that's pretty cool in itself. And you look at taxprooftampa.com. So let's talk about a review. So you can go back. The IRS says you're able to go back 3 years and question and change and say, I need to amend that tax return, change that tax return. So let's do that for the first 3 listeners. We have to limit it. Her time is very valuable, as you know. For the first 3 listeners that want a tax review, if you're a business owner or even just self-employed, sole proprietor maybe, and you want to have a professional go back and look, because sometimes there's money's left. There's money left over, and there's things that you missed and maybe you didn't see, and maybe you just walked into one of these strip malls and just did it quickly. But we can help you do it. So text the word review to our hotline. Tax review, text tax review to 813-750-0550, our consumer advocate hotline. Text or call review, tax review to 813-750-0550, and that's our hotline. And then what would the follow-up be on your end once we put you in touch with the person reaching out?
So once we reach them, once we receive their information from you, someone from my office will give them a call to schedule a time. Prior to the meeting, I would need for them to upload their tax returns. This way I get the opportunity, and we're not spending that 20 minutes that I'm giving in review time while I'm just trying to read it, because at this point you really don't get the best. It doesn't work out in your favor.
Make
because
the most
it's still,
of it.
Right. You need to make the best of it if I'm going to take a look at it. Upload the returns. Once I upload the returns, we review the returns, and then at that point, we're just kind of having conversations.
Yeah.
There are tons of things that I always see. Veterans aren't always getting their full disability credits. I mean, there are just so many things that, you walk into H&R Block.
Yeah.
If they're not asking you, and that's not to say anything that they don't prepare taxes. What I'm saying is they don't always ask the right questions.
Exactly.
And, you walk into these places, the Liberty Tax, the H&R Blocks, the Jackson Hewitts. Here's the thing. You're a veteran and you're 50% disabled.
Yep.
A lot of the money that you're receiving, 50% of it is non-taxable. And all it takes is me getting the letter.
Yeah.
Changing it on the form that you have received from the government, and sending it into the IRS and getting you your refund.
I'd hate to see our veterans not get their money.
Right. There's so many things that they leave on the table just because they don't know.
Reach out to the show. We'd love to put you in touch with Michelle James, Tax Resolution Specialist, Taxpro of Tampa.com. And Michelle, great stuff. Thanks so much for bringing that knowledge into our show. And we want you to please go out there and consider committing a random act of kindness. Do something kind for one another. Be a force for good in the community. We'll see you next time. Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
You've been listening to The Consumer Quarterback.